She wasn't ready. I'm not ready. And to any of you get that reference, props to you. Hello everybody, my name's Jade and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a spoiler-free review of Grasshopper Jungle by Andrew Smith. So this is actually a book that I started back in May as a buddy read with Rebecca from Rebecca's Grotto. So if you haven't looked into her channel or her content yet, please go do so. She is wonderful and lovely and more people need to go watch her content, so please go do so. That would be excellent. This is the first book that we picked up to read together and oh my god, was that a bad decision. Let's just say we were both extremely disappointed by what this book gave us and we had lots to talk about. And not in a good way, and we were both upset by a lot of the same things. If it weren't for Rebecca, I would be disposing of this book immediately because the only thing that saved it in terms of star rating was the praying mantises involved, which I'll talk about more later with the synopsis. But yeah, I'm just going to get right into it, not going to waste any time, so let's just get started with the review. So Grasshopper Jungle is about our main character, Austin, and not only is he come to terms with himself and his sexuality, but he's doing so during a time of crisis, as it is happening during an apocalypse where giant praying mantises are running around, breeding, and eating everyone. I will say now that the praying mantises were overall my favorite part about this book. I wish the book was like 90% more focused on them because not only was the writing in regards to them super intense and interesting, but just it was baller. I just loved hearing about it. I loved hearing about them eating people, which is super morbid, but trust me, the way it was described, it was great. Aside from that, everything else in this review is going to be on the con side of things because I didn't like it. It was just bad. In terms of things I didn't like, where should I even start? The first thing that I think I'm going to talk about is the writing for this book, because not only was it all over the place, but the descriptions in general were terrible. So when we talk about the flow, the first half was most certainly better than the second half in terms of like the direction of the plot and where it was going. My only concern with the beginning of the book was that it was extremely focused on how horny Austin was 24/7 on the daily. Almost every other to every page, there was at least one mention of him being horny because of whatever the heck was happening. And it was to the point where it's like the author was trying to convince me he was horny rather than Austin himself being a really horny individual and just having a lot of sexual motivation. And it was so overwhelming that now my boyfriend and I have an inside joke. And that any time we've read together, since I've read this book and I started moaning and carrying on about something I'm frustrated about, he will ask me, is a character horny? It was that bad. It was that overwhelming, and that is absolutely awful. I didn't like that. In terms of the second half, it doesn't focus as much on how horny Austin is, but it's still relevant. Like, it's still relevant enough that it's annoying. But the second half of the book focuses more on Austin as well as the people in his town dealing with the apocalypse. And the flow for that was just really terrible because it was talking about everybody in the present moment. So Austin would be talking about something. You talk about all these minor characters who are most likely going to be killed off and you're not even going to remember them dying. And then it goes back to whatever Austin was talking about before. So then you're like, one, what was Austin talking about because I don't remember? And two, why were these characters relevant aside from them being eaten? I didn't like hearing about these characters because I'm like, I don't care. I want to hear about how Austin and his friends are dealing with it. Like, yes, it was interesting, but it did this so many times that it just wasn't effective and I didn't enjoy it. So not only was the flow terrible, but it seemed like at least 75% of this book in general was like filler. The main character likes recounting on history and thinking that history is truth. History is what we know. But like I said, it was so all over the place. You're like, why do we care? Why do we care about what's happening? So for example, he really liked to recount on his own family's history to see how he got to where he is today. And he would talk about his great-great-great-great-grandfather, and I don't even remember any of the details aside from one of his grandfathers who happened to be gay. And I really wish it didn't do that because I wanted to take it more seriously because that's part of this character's backstory and where he came from. But I couldn't. I couldn't take it seriously, and I didn't like how it played on the idea of him knowing the history and him knowing that history is the truth because he would recount on other people's histories as well as his own. It's like, how do you know that that's truth? You don't know. Like, stop being an arrogant piece of crap. But yeah, that wasn't done very well either. So on top of all of those writing issues, something that was frustrating was like the descriptions of the scenes in the backgrounds themselves because they were extremely hard to visualize. which is weird considering I love the praying mantis part so much because they went into great detail. You could imagine exactly what they looked like and what they were doing. But with the scenery, they kind of describe it, and it wouldn't be the best description ever, so you're like, where are they again? I don't really know. Like, even the things that you should know what it looks like in your head, it was like, all right, fine, whatever. When we talk about the characters, was there development? No, there wasn't. There wasn't any at all, and it was pretty ridiculous and gross. Like, there wasn't any. When you look at the three main characters, so Austin, Robbie, and Shan, they can be put down to like one character trait each, and that's really all you know about them. Possibly two, depending on who it is. Austin is selfish, and he's arrogant. Robbie is the cool best friend, and then Shan is the bitchy one, and is basically boobs on a stick, because that's all you know about her. All she does in this book is get angry at Austin for doing things that she deserves to be angry about. And then at one point, you'll see a time jump with all of them, and none of them have changed within that time jump. I think I was the most frustrated about Robbie and Shan because it felt like they were more like plot devices to move the story forward for Austin, rather than distinguishable individuals that were interesting, that you wanted to get to know. They were just there, just as the minor side characters were. There was just no character development in this, and I hated it. And I was really expecting a lot more to happen with the romance that didn't happen. So that was disappointing too, on top of all of that. And the last thing I'm going to talk about for this review is the fact that this is included in a lot of LGBTQIA+ recommendation lists. Now that I've read it, I don't understand why people do this, because I don't feel like it's good representation for the community at all. I just thought it was absolutely terrible. Mind you, I am a straight individual, so I wasn't sure as to whether people in this community felt that it was good or bad representation. So I asked some people that are in my life that are part of that community what they think about this character that I've described it to them, showed them some passages, so it wasn't just like my biased opinion, it was trying to make it more objective. And they all thought the same thing as me, that Austin is not a good representation of what they went through, how they came to terms with their thoughts and feelings. I'm glad that I read it so I could see what it's about and see why people think it's so quirky, but it's not a good read. It's quirky in all the wrong ways, and I don't really think it deserves as much hype as it has been getting on BookTube over the past couple of years. So yeah, this was just an extremely frustrating read overall, and I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. Thank God for the praying mantises. So that's going to conclude my spoiler-free review of Grasshopper Jungle by Andrew Smith. If you guys have any thoughts or opinions about what I've said, if you've liked Grasshopper Jungle or disliked it because you've read it before, please leave me a comment down below. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on the topic. And again, like I said before, please go check out Rebecca's channel if you haven't already. I'll be sure to leave all her information for her channel down in the description below. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!